So today's lesson that we're going to work on is going to be painting these koi fish. And if you don't have painting supplies at home, obviously don't worry about that. You can use crayons or markers, you can use color pencils, but for today I'm going to be showing you how you would paint these in. So we're going to be using reference photos of different koi fish. And koi fish are a Japanese fish that they swim in ponds that are shallow, and they're very beautiful. They have these different spots. And like I said, today I'm going to teach you how to draw these and then add color to them. So the really neat thing about koi fish is that they are all a little bit different, and they also have some similarities to them. So as you can see, this fish right here has two fins on the back, whereas maybe this fish up here only has one. And some of the spots too, the shapes of them are unique as well. So if you look at these spots compared to, let's see, these ones, right? They have a little bit different look to them, and the edges of them are different. So these are just cartoon koi fish. I'm going to type in just koi fish on their own, and let's look at some real images of koi fish right here, right? And they're known to be bright red spots and also orange as well. So I'm going to be giving you different colors today, red and orange, to paint in or color in your spots on your koi fish. Okay, and then we're gonna work on the background as well, and we'll be able to create a very beautiful dynamic background using cool colors as in green, purple, and blue. And then again, the fish, they pop out so nicely because they are orange, red, and maybe even a tad bit yellow we'll add in there as well, just to, again, give those warm colors a nice pop against the background. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so again, this is the image that I've created for you today. I have two koi fish in my picture, and what I like about this is it looks like they're swimming opposite of each other, and the way that the fish is shaped, they perfectly line up with one another. So it makes an interesting composition or picture. So I'm going to grab a piece of plain paper, and again, whatever paper you have is fine. So if you're working at home and you have plain computer paper, that's great. If you have lined paper, that's good too. I'm gonna be using a black Sharpie marker so you can see my lines. I would recommend using pencil for this project. If you only have a pen or a marker, just use that. But the nice thing about pencil is you can erase as you go, and you might find that you wanna change some things with this as you're working. Okay, so, as always, the first thing we're going to do is make our frame and name. So I am simply going to hold my paper tight, use my marker, and pull my marker down. Okay, try and make the straightest line that you can towards the edge of your paper. If you're having trouble doing straight lines, I always say that you can do a squiggle line. But as you practice this, I'm sure you'll realize you'll get better and better. And I just like to pull my marker down. So again, I'm going to just pull my marker. And I'm rotating my paper as I go. Okay, and then the last side. Okay, perfect. So now I have my frame on my paper. And the next step is I'm going to write my first and last name at the bottom right. Now, I'd like your paper to be the long way going this way, so more horizontal, just because as you're drawing the fish, you'll see that they look like they're swimming in this direction. However, when I am drawing, I might turn my paper depending on what I'm doing. So, but in terms of purposes of where your name goes, let's put it at the bottom right, just like so. So Miss Curtis, and then your homeroom number. So I'll put 220. Okay, so let's start with our first step. So I am gonna turn my paper right now, and I'm going to draw my first fish. So you have reference photos either at your table or you're using them by looking them up on the computer. So I'm going to look up a fish right now. So let's see here. Give me 1 second. And we're gonna draw this step by step. So I'm gonna give you a little more freedom. If you're looking up a certain fish and you wanna draw it, like it has different features, you can, but we're drawing koi fish here. So depending on which one you pick of a koi fish, it might have a little bit of a difference, like 2 tails. So I'm gonna start with my first one. Now the body of each koi fish is going to be almost like a teardrop shape. So I'm gonna start with the head up here, and watch me first. I'm going to just make a curve shape. Okay, so this curve shape, and it's simply going to curve, get smaller at the bottom, curve around, and come back up. And like I said, take your time. If you need to erase or try again, you can do that. So again, a teardrop is, the shape of a teardrop is something like this. Right? So that does look like the body of a fish, maybe a tadpole. However, with these koi fish, the bottom has still a rounded edge like this, and it looks like it's swimming, so we're gonna curve it. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do here is I'm going to create some eyes. So an eye is going to be a circle shape, and then I'm going to put a pupil inside, color that in, and then an eye on the other side. And the eyes are on the side of the fish's head. So you want to make sure that they're decently far apart from each other, okay? The next step is going to be to add some fins. So I'll show you how we're going to draw those. We're going to have larger fins coming off the side towards the top. And these are the same on both sides. So go ahead and draw your fins. And then we're going to add a few lines to show the texture on the fins. And then there's a fin at the bottom, and it simply looks something like this. And again, look at your pictures, your reference photos. Usually I don't have some of these videos, we go step by step like this, but this is kind of nice because you can look at all different types of fish and see how the fins look and the body of the fish, and you can kind of change that as you go. So I notice on a lot of koi fish, they have this fin, but then they also have this extra little tiny line or extra little piece of the fin that comes out like this. So you might want to add that. I notice it on a lot of them. And then I also notice on the koi fish that there is an extra baby looking fin right here. It's tiny. So I'm gonna add that over here as well. Kind of curves up like that. So it's 2 lines and then a curve comes up. Okay, so far we have the body of the fish. Now I suggest that we add some spots. So like I said, when you're looking at the reference photos of all these different koi fish, they have different shaped spots. So these ones, the curve is a little less jagged, whereas when you look at this koi fish I drew, notice how there's many more curves. So that's up to you how you want to add the spots on your fish. Again, look at the reference photos of different koi fish, and then you can decide how you want yours to look. So I am going to add some spots. And these are fun. This would be called an organic shape. An organic shape is essentially a shape that is free-flowing, and you find them a lot in nature. So these fish are a perfect example of using organic shapes. because they're kind of random. They're not like squares or perfect circles. And that's, again, what you find in nature. And one last thing we're going to add to our koi fish is they have these little parts of the body at the top, and they're right around the mouth, and they come out like this. It's almost like having a fish having some whiskers, right? And they look just like that. Okay, so I suggest you make a second fish. However, if you just want to work on one koi fish, you can. And there are more complicated fish that you can draw where you can have, like, the head has a more defined shape to it and it has a mouth. I'll obviously have those reference photos for you, or you can look them up online. This is a more simplified koi fish. So now I'm going to draw my second koi fish, and because I just want one to be swimming in the other direction, because I like the way that it looks and it has this nice flowing look to the picture. All right, so again, I'm going to do this one more time. I'm working with a teardrop shape. This fish is going to be a little smaller. And remember, I'm just looking for your best effort. So take your time. Okay. And notice sometimes I make mistakes as well. I just go back and I'll take my marker and kind of fix the edges as we go. Okay. And then again, the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to make some eyes. Okay. And then we need some fins. This fish is swimming through. I start with the fins towards the top, just like before. Add some lines for texture. And you saw me do the first one, so I'm going a little bit faster on the second one. But obviously, please take your time. And then I know that I'm going to do the bottom fin. So right down here. Okay, and remember the fins have this interesting shape. It's like an extra part of the fin, right? Comes out, and adding that texture back in. Cool, so you can see that it looks like this fish is turning this way, and by the time this fish is gonna swim through here, this one's gonna be gone. And now the extra baby fin. Okay. All right. And something else I wanted to point out, and I didn't do it on this fish, but I'm going to do it on this koi fish, is that they have, it's like an extra fin on their back, and it's essentially a long line like this. I'm going to draw that on this koi fish. So it's along their back. Okay? And it kind of curves nicely with the body as well. And then I will add some spots. And this time I'm going to make them have more curves around. And you can do these however you want. And I think that looks pretty good. Oh, don't want to forget this little part at the top, right? Where the mouth is. Okay, and there you have koi fish. I have two. Now, something else I thought would be fun for you to add in your background while they're swimming around is some lily pads. So they're usually found in shallow water. You might notice, like if you go over to a family member's house, they might have an actual koi pond. So my aunt used to have a koi fish pond, and they would live in there all winter long. They would just go deep beneath to stay warm in the rocks at the bottom. And again, they were always swimming along, and it was really beautiful. And she had different flowers back there, and A lot of times there's lily pads that float on top of a koi fish pond. So I'm going to draw some of those, and a lily pad is just a circular looking shape, and then there's a V in it. So usually that's how you can tell it's a lily pad. It has a little cut in it. So I'm gonna have some coming off the side of the page. I'll do one up in this corner. I have some space here. V, so curve and a V. And then maybe I'll do a smaller lily pad where you can see the whole lily pad right here. V, and then come around. And if you've ever played the game Pac-Man, it kind of looks like a Pac-Man, right? You know, they have those mouths that go chomp, 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 chomp. And that looks pretty good. And if you wanted to add a flower shape onto your lily pad, sometimes they have these pink flowers, you can do that. For this picture, I'm just gonna leave it like so. And I'm gonna now show you how you are going to paint or add color to these koi fish, okay? So if you're doing them with pencil or a pen and you paint them in, you might notice that some of the lines you drew are gonna kind of disappear because you're painting, but afterwards we'll come back in and we'll use black paint or a marker to outline them so you can see them again, okay? All right, so let's get started on the next step. All right, so now we're ready to paint these koi fish. And like I said before, if you're working on this at home and you don't have paints, you can use other coloring supplies that you have, whether it's markers, crayons, or color pencil. So I am using a round brush here. It has a nice tip to it, so I can obviously get into areas and make more detail and get small spots. But then I can also, when I press it down to paint and pull my brush, I can get wider areas too. So these round brushes are actually my favorite. I've put out my paints here. I have orange, the sparkly yellow, and these are my warm colors. I'm gonna be using those on my fish today. And if you have red is a great color too for the spots on the fish. And then again, we have purple, green, and blue, and these are gonna be for the water and even the lily pads. Okay, so I'm gonna start with painting my fish first and then move into the background. So I'm looking at my reference photos. We've been using the reference photos the whole time, and that's very helpful. So I'm actually pulling mine up right now. One sec. Okay. All right, so I am going to start. Now I'm going to use these two colors and I'm going to actually dip. This is, normally I wouldn't say this, but when you're painting, you really want to wash your brush in between colors. And I am gonna do that. I'm gonna wash my brush going from warm colors to cool colors and cool colors to warm colors. But in between these two, I'm gonna just dip in and out. I'm not gonna mix them, but you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so I am going to start using some orange on these spots, and I'm just taking my time using the tip of my brush, going around. Try your best to not go outside the lines. If you do, we can always fix it later. We can go back over with either black marker or black paint. And then I am going to, I'll dip in and out of the yellow, and I can add and blend some of this really pretty yellow on top. Kind of mix it in. Now, I'm not mixing the orange into the yellow, but I went in, out for the warm colors. Okay, same thing over here, in and out with the yellow. And notice I still have some orange on my brush, so it's kind of blending together and making this really pretty color. And koi fish are red and they also have orange spots. So that's why I'm working with the orange today. And again, notice how that kind of blended nicely. You can see some orange peeking through, and I might even dip in and out just on the tip, bring some orange back in and blend it together and kind of shade it around. And again, fish are organic subject matter, meaning that they are living in nature. So we don't want this, we want to blend in different colors. We want it to look more realistic. So you don't just want to use one color, you kind of want to mix it around, right? Because every fish and every living organism is unique. So I just went right into orange, and I'm pulling my brush, using the tip of my brush. I'm gonna add some of this sparkly yellow back in. And I'm really loving this sparkly yellow. This is the first day that I've used it. So it's fun. Just kind of doing some different brush strokes, some interesting strokes. And then this one, I'm going to start with yellow first. Awesome. And then maybe a tiny dot of orange, and let those dry. Okay, and I'm just looking at my pictures. Remember, you're kind of looking at the fish pictures that are on your table or that you have at home, or maybe they're on the computer. And these little areas, these little like feelers that they have towards the top of them, these are bright as well. So I'm gonna add some orange here and yellow. And same with the fins. I'm gonna do something kind of cool here, I'm excited. I am going to start by painting them orange, and then I'm gonna bring some yellow in. Okay. Try to be careful with your hand that you don't, I'm working on it this way. I'm a righty, so I'm painting this way. I don't want to smear my paint by going this way. So I'm lifting my hand as I go. And again, I'm holding my paintbrush almost like a pencil and just pulling it. So be careful as you go. And you will get better at painting over time. So don't feel too nervous in the beginning. If you make mistakes, you can always go back and fix it. And then now I'm gonna go into the yellow, and I'm gonna bring yellow in through the textured part of the fin, right? So we have those lines there. I'm just gonna add some yellow. I think it'll look really pretty. Same with the other side. And I like mixing my colors like this on the paper. Okay. And down here, we have this other fin. I'm gonna actually make these a little more yellow. That's just my choice. And then I'm gonna switch again, make the bottom fin orange with yellow. Going around, filling in all the space. Neat, okay. And then this part as well. Just love seeing how the colors blend. Okay, so I painted one koi fish. I'm going to paint the other one quickly. I'll do the sped up version here so I don't waste your time watching again. And then you can work on painting your koi fish or coloring them in if you don't have painting materials, and then I'll show you how to do a really awesome background. Okay. Okay, so I added, I had this one a little more yellow, and now I'm gonna show you how to paint your background. And I left them white in between, so I didn't paint that area white. The paper's white, so I really don't find that that's necessary right now. Other times I might have you paint in the area white, but not for this project. Okay, so I'm washing my brush to go from the warm colors, the orange and the yellow, and again, you might be using red for your koi fish spots. And then I am just scrubbing the bristles at the bottom really, really good. So I'm not just like letting it float through the water. I want to hear it really scrubbing and getting all that paint off. And then I'm just wiping it on the edge, and I'm using the paper towel on the table to dab it. And if it comes up clear with no paint on it, you know you can move to the next step. And really try and get all of that water off. We're not using watercolor, so we don't want to add more water into the paint. It'll just make it watery, and you don't want that. So once you notice that most of it's off, like look, I'm barely leaving a trail, you can move on. Okay, so water is a lot of fun to paint. You can make swirls in it and do all sorts of things. So I am going to look up some examples just to kind of reference them. Okay, so I'm going to be using these 3 colors, and I am going to start with the blue, and I'm going to kind of, wow, look at that blue. That is really beautiful. Try and stay in the lanes. Try and stay in the lines, so you're not going out of the frame, but you are going to be able to dip in and out. Don't swoosh your brush in there because it'll mix the color in, but if you dip in and out, you should be okay. So I'm gonna use the blue, and I'm gonna go with the flow of the fish. So the fish is like curved this way, so when I'm painting it, I'm going to kind of flow with it in the same direction. And I'm going to mix. Notice I went from blue to purple in and out, and I wanna do this while the paint is wet. So the paint for the blue I had just put down, so I wanna work like not too fast where I'm painting, making mistakes and going over the fish and stuff, but I want the paint to be wet enough that it mixes really nicely when you go from color to color. I really love the way that that looks. And I'm even taking some of this greenish color. And these are the colors that you would see in a pond or in a lake. You've got blues, purples, and greens, and depending on how deep the water is, it'll look darker, right? So that's why we're using this purple and the dark blue. And if these fish are closer to the top of the water, maybe the color is a little more bluish green to show that some light is coming through. And they'll peek up from time to time. Like when I used to go and visit my aunt and I would look at her koi fish pond, I would see them come and float towards the top at times. It was really pretty cool. So again, I'm just going into different colors. Oh, I went outside the lines. It's okay, it's gonna happen. Be careful. Even as your teacher, you make mistakes, right? Okay, I'm gonna go into the green. I'm gonna come down here. And notice I'm being very careful around the edge of the fish. Use the tip of my brush. And don't leave too much paint pockets on your painting. You want to kind of spread that paint along so it's not big like globs. Oh, went outside line again. So come around. I just love these colors, and notice I'm painting them in a flowing motion. I want to really make it look like this water has movement to it. I'm not just going up and down or left to right. Try and stay in the same motion going through. So I'm gonna do a little sped up version of me painting this, and you'll be able to see that and try this on your own. All right. Okay, and that finishes our koi fish painting. You would put this somewhere to dry or on a drying rack after. So I just want to show you up close. I kind of mixed my colors, went with the flow for the fish. So I think it turned out really nice. I am pretty happy with it. I also painted the green color in for the lily pads. So again, you can use red in your spots, orange, yellow, warm colors, cool colors in your background. And I can't wait to see how yours come out.